welcome to Blow the Whistle. I'm your host, Ash Mack, and it is that time again that we get into more than a few discussions when it comes to your favorite HBCUs and, more importantly, the HBCU bands. Now, today is the day. Finally, a band or bands have been crowned Bands of the Year, and it has been confusing following this whole thing. But of course, we have to have the BTW crew with me to get into more detail of what we actually witnessed, who was crowned Band of the Year. Emphasis on is actually bands, but who deserved the actual ranking and who actually won. What is the criteria? We still don't know. We still don't have answers, but we can at least discuss what really went down. I got Jay, Quan, Portia. Welcome back, everyone.
Excited to be here yet again. Let's get it done.
Let's get it done. Jay, okay, give us a little bit of what we've seen or what you saw for this Band of the Year.
I actually thought that it was great. I said it on my other show, The Band Report, that I really was excited at the fact that all four bands showed up and had a really great showing. So, kudos again to every single band that showed up. You took your time, your energy, and efforts. Kudos to every student who put in the work to get it done. So, I thought it was great. I thought it was a great performance from all four bands. So I was excited to see that.
Quan, what are your thoughts when it comes to Band of the Year and what you saw?
Well, my number one band won, so I feel fine. Florida Memorial. So I'm good with that. But I mean, overall, outstanding showing from all four band programs. I am excited. I always root for the underdog. Florida Memorial won. Percussion section is top notch. They had some percussion features from both from Division I for North Carolina A&T. So as a percussionist, I was satisfied.
Okay. Well, Portia, what are your thoughts about the rankings when it comes to auxiliary?
I saw some really good things from most of the squad. I did see a few, mishaps, but that's to be expected. But I saw some really good things from the auxiliary units that participated.
Okay, well, we're going to chop it up. We're going to really get down to it. And we're going to start things with Division II, Band of the Year. Quan, you just mentioned how it was your school, your choice, the underdogs for Florida Memorial. But we're actually going to start with Jay. What are your thoughts on their show, their drill, the concept, and did they deserve first place?
So first thing, I'm going to absolutely say yes. I absolutely agree that they deserve first place. I think that every single show that we've had thus far, we've mentioned Florida Memorial and the fact that they are truly very basically, to what Quan said, the underdog. I think that, and it was kind of very evident that people have not seen them before and not really had paid attention to them because they opened with their normal theme, which is the Circle of Life theme. And it was like, some people were like, oh my gosh, they're playing Circle of Life. Like, that's a normal theme that they play on a regular. Like, so the fact that people just were unaware of that just really showed that, they had not really been watching them for or seen them. But no, I think it's well deserved. I think their drill was executed very well. From a sound perspective, for a smaller program, I think they do a really, really good job of building a great sound. And I would almost go close to saying a stereophonic sound. But I think they do a great job and a great arranging job to really balance out their sound. So yes, absolutely well deserved. Drill was great. No issues there, man. I definitely deserve first place.
I'm going to be very honest. I am one of those people that didn't pay much attention to Florida Memorial until it came. I'm sorry, Quan. I was like, okay, I'm turned into a believer now, but they've also forced us to pay attention to them. You know what I mean? And what I can say, even from us doing our episodes and following who will be crowned Band of the Year, we've actually seen the progress with Florida Memorial. I can't say that for other band programs, but I can definitely say that for them. So Quan, what are your thoughts when it comes to Florida Memorial and percussion and everything that we've seen?
So first of all, outstanding group. Technicality at its highest. The only thing that Florida Memorial is lacking is numbers. If Florida Memorial, if they gained, let's just say about 70 more students, which they should from being one of from this event, if they gained 70 more people and was able to compete in Division I guarantee you they will be a top 3 band. They should be a household name moving forward, and they're going to be one of those band programs that, in my opinion, that build their program the right way. I'm saying that they started from the bottom, they recruited, they have their own identity, they develop their own sound. Their percussion section is not emblematic of any other percussion section that is around. Stylistically, I would say it's similar to the Edward Waters or the Florida type percussion type style, but overall, like, they're doing them at a high level. The only thing they need is the people, and once they gain those people, I mean, the traditional HBCU bands better watch out for Florida Memorial, and I've been saying that for about 2 years.
They are. I will agree with you. They are inherently Florida, in the way that they execute anything. Did you see the percussion battle that happened between them and Virginia State? The after the performance percussion battle?
Yeah. I did. So I mean, but my thing is, they're developing their name, not just in the with the band, because sometimes you can have a great band but a trash percussion section. Like, their entire program overall, their band program is outstanding from top to bottom. From in my opinion, I don't want to take Portia's thunder, but their auxiliary, I feel like, it's top notch, and it's like they have the breath of fresh air. Is they have their own identity. Like, they're not taking, bits from this program that's popular or that program that's popular. They're just developing their own style. So kudos to the director of bands, because apparently he had a vision and he's carrying that vision out. That's specifically and strategically for that program. So, I mean, as a high school band director, that's something that you emulate and strive after as well. And I would love to pick his brain. So if you see this video, director of band, holla at me.
Facts. Okay, there's a question I have about Florida Memorial and Virginia State, but because we talked about Virginia State previously and what school would be a good matchup, but since you mentioned about the drumline battle, then we'll wait until we talk about Virginia State to get to that, because I think that is something to really talk about. And are they truly the best band in the CIAA, or are they not? We gonna see. Okay, Portia, let's get to auxiliary. What were your thoughts when it comes to Florida Memorial?
I saw some really good things from them. The majorette, they have one majorette. I did like some of what I saw from her. Great technique. She did incorporate some difficult things throughout the routine. The way she accented and highlighted some of the things in the drill, I thought were good. I would have liked to see her use more of the two batons than what she did. But I saw some really good things from her, and it was more technical than what I saw from her earlier in the season. As far as the dancers, the energy was amazing. Like, the good use of the field, their visuals, they did a lot of moving and changing of the formation. Great use of levels, like different ways to visually move your eye, not just horizontally, but vertically. And some of the accents that they put to the music, I thought was dope. There were some technique issues that I saw in the routine, but overall, very, very clean, very good from them. As far as the color guard, I know they do that Circle of Life theme, but I thought those flags that they used complemented that well. I like that they pushed a few of them into the drill, doing that performance to add some color and to kind of move them like through the field. So it was a visual aspect there. What I will say is that their feature, and this is something I see across the board in a lot of color guards, the feature was amazing. It was one of the cleanest things that I've seen from a color guard this season. The tricks, the tosses, the being in the same place at the same time was amazing, but that was the cleanest part of your show. So I want to challenge them and all the rest of these squads that your entire presentation needs to be as clean as your feature, because all of it is a representation of you. But kudos to them. Like, I really liked what I saw from their color guard and their auxiliary overall. Like, I saw some really good things.
Outside of Division II, but overall, what other program would you say mastered or was a comparison to what you saw with Florida Memorial?
As far as what?
Auxiliary. Was there anybody else that met them with as clean as their feature was?
As far as color guard or auxiliary overall?
Yes. Well, color guard.
No, they were the cleanest flags in that dome this weekend. This is Portia's personal opinion. In comparing all of the color guards that were there, that they were the cleanest as far as feature goes in that stadium.
That says a lot. Okay, Florida Memorial. That says a whole lot. So hopefully after, this performance and people have seen it, Quan, like you said, hopefully we'll see the next, I'll say 100 people instead of 70 new band members in that band. And maybe this is one of the bands that I'm looking forward to their even more of a success story after this. So let's get into Division 2. Well, with Quan, let's go right back to you with Virginia State. Thoughts on their performance in comparison to Florida Memorial?
So I don't think they did a bad job, but sometimes in a boxing match, because that's kind of like the format that they set it up as, when you have a better boxer, it shows in the ring. In regards to the last big fight that they had against Terrence Crawford against Errol Spinks, both of them are great fighters. However, that night, Terrence Crawford just was the better fighter. And kudos to Virginia State. However, Florida Memorial did everything right. And they've been doing everything right this entire year. I don't think they had a bad field show this year, in my opinion. And I have no dogs in that fight. But outside of the same colors from both institutions, Florida Memorial, in my opinion, stands out the most. I do believe that the percussion section is going to continuously get better. Shout out to Dr. Lamont Lawhorn, who's at Virginia State, who was the percussion guy of North Carolina A&T and Cold Steel for so many years. I think he's going to bring some swagger to that group as well, being a graduate from Prairie View A&M. But overall, I truly believe that both of the programs were great. However, it was Florida Memorial's night.
Jay, what are your thoughts? What can you add to this? And overall, I would like to ask everyone, when it comes to Virginia State, we've seen, or a lot of us probably have grown up or heard of the school, and we've seen them when we were in undergrad, but are we seeing them in a light that we might have seen them a decade, 2 decades ago? What are we seeing today in 2023?
So I'm gonna say this. Quan, when you write, you write. To be very honest, this was probably one of the better performances that I've seen from Virginia State in a while. And that's not to say anything bad, but this is, it was a lot cleaner. Drill was a lot cleaner. I think that they paid attention to a lot more details than they probably would have missed on other performances. But again, I think that, going back to what Quan said, I think that Florida Memorial was just, the better program of that night. And that doesn't take away from anything that Virginia State did, because again, I think that they did a very good job. I think they did a great job for what they've been doing, for what I've seen them do this whole year. But again, I really think that, the better person won, and I'm going to continue to say that over and over again. But again, great job to Virginia State.
You didn't even answer my question.
I'm sorry. How did I miss that? My bad. Let's go back again. Say it again. What was the question?
No, but I was just asking about, Virginia State. We've seen this program. Mm-hmm. We've grown up probably with this program or seen it at one point in time. And I was just saying, from a decade ago to maybe even 2 decades ago to what we're seeing in 2023, have we seen them grow, or really just do they have the same type of notoriety that we once saw with Virginia State when we were all in undergrad? Because that was always something we looked forward to.
That's a very good question. So I apologize that I missed that question, Ashmack. My bad. But if I can be totally honest, which I typically try to be, I've actually seen them digress from what we've seen as we were in undergrad. And I would honestly say the performance that we've seen from them is more of a progress, moving in the right trajectory. And multiple things can be factors, right? When we were marching, Dr. Phillips was over the program, and after a while, Dr. Phillips left, and now he's over at Prairie View. And so, when you change the guard, that also is going to be a shift in what happens in the program. And so I think that shift caused them to change some things up, which, allowed them to go down in order to be able to build up. And so I think, again, what we've seen from them in this Band of the Year performance, I think is the elevation to them moving into the right direction, going back to what we were used to seeing them be as a program. Now, what I will also say is this: horsepower ain't lost their touch. So horsepower is still horsepower.
Okay. That's always good to hear. Okay. Portia, what are your thoughts when it comes to auxiliary? What do we witness when it comes to the Trojan explosion?
This is the best performance I've seen from them this year. All of their auxiliary were operating at a high level, which was a good thing. From their color guard, I like that they were moving around, that they did not just stay in the back of the field, that they did move into the drill. They were moving around. They were more present in the actual drill. They did some tossing. They did some tricks, all of which I am very happy about from a college level squad. The variety of twirls I think was better. Mixing things up, not doing the same things, doing ripples, incorporating things that will add to the music visually. I thought all of that was good. I did see one or two timing issues, and one person I saw with some pole control issues when she was marching. But other than that, I saw really good things. I really liked the routine and what they brought to the table. But what I will say, as far as color guard, Florida Memorial, hands down. As far as the majorettes, they were, to me, the highlight of this field show. They were very clean, very, very, I did not see a single drop. They did a lot of partnering. They did this stunt where the guy put the young lady on top of him, and she was twirling, and they were tossing the batons back and forth. At one point, he had 3, she had 2. It was exciting to see. I only saw one little mishap on timing, and the recovery was amazing. That was the highlight. I watched it over and over again. I was like, this is amazing. So kudos to them. If we're talking about majorettes, they were the best in that building. They showed up, they showed out, and it was college level. So I want to say kudos to those two young people. As far as the dancers, they were clean. They really looked good. The levels, the ripples, the effects that they incorporated, the execution and how they maneuvered and moved on the field, I thought was great. They just needed to be mindful of some of the spacing because there was off some, but other than that, it was very clean. I was very excited about what I saw from their color guard as far as from our initial review till now, the growth, and that's the goal. So I saw really good things from them.
Well, you know what? We're going to stay on you, Portia, because we got to get to Division 1. And what people are talking about was who was actually crowned Band of the Year for Division 1. No other than North Carolina A&T. BTW crew, what are our thoughts on this? And I don't even want to go down the rabbit hole of historically what we know, what we've seen from A&T, but to focus on what we witnessed during this performance. So, Portia, let's get into Golden Delight. What did you see within this performance and being crowned Band of the Year?
I'm going to be honest. I couldn't find a video of them the whole show. Like everybody else, I was able to see the auxiliary, each unit completely, full field view so I could see it. But from what I could see, I saw really good things. The colors that they use out there is kind of what I've been preaching across the board. Step outside of your comfort zone. Use colors that don't have anything to do with your program if they add to the field show. If they bring color, a visual element to what your field presentation is. So I thought that was great. I think that they did Boogie Nights or and that disco flag, perfect. I thought that was amazing. And they used vibrant, beautiful colors throughout the show. As the music changed, it all flowed, it all made sense. So from what I could see, really, really good things. They're not going to give me technical when it comes to color guard. They're not going to give me the tricks, but it was pretty. So, kudos to them on that. I couldn't see all of the dance feature, but I thought it was cool when they brought the stools out and did the little bend. I thought it was dope, their outfits for that routine. I did see some really good things. I can't give you a full picture because I didn't see the whole thing, but I did see some really good elements from them. Lots of levels, lots of ripples and things because the squad is larger. I did see, as far as their majorettes, some tossing. And that was clean from what I could see. I did see that they were moving and complimenting the music, but I didn't see the whole thing, so I'm not sure. And when they went to the back of the field on the video, I couldn't see what they were doing. But I did see some really good things from what I could see as far as their majorettes. So the highlight for me was the color that they brought to that show, the visual impact that those colors meant to that show cannot be emphasized enough. So kudos to them.
Well, still talking about their show, do you still believe that Florida Memorial was the highlight of the night?
Absolutely. If we're talking about color guard technique, if we're talking about standing still, pole work, Florida Memorial. If we're talking about color and bringing additional elements to the show, then that's an A&T. But I'm saying as far as actual color guard technique, difficulty level, tricks, spinning, being in the exact same place at the exact same time, that feature from Florida Memorial is one of the best I've seen this season.
Well, Jay, let us know if you feel differently. What did you see from when it comes to the wins and everything that we've seen for A&T being crowned Band of the Year from Division I?
Well, I'm going to absolutely say that, in my opinion, they definitely deserved the spot that they got. I just feel from top to bottom, their show was, to me, a complete show. From the drill perspective, sound, clarity, balance, and blend, all those things to me were where they needed to be. And then going back to some of the things that Portia was saying, the use of the color guard and the drill I thought was right. It was all even the little ribbon girl that they had. I think it was like a couple of them back there. They had the little ribbon twirl daddies. But no, I think that from top to bottom, the creativity that they had in their show and the things that they were doing in their show, the arrangements, the execution of said arrangements, I thought all of those things went really well. And I do believe that they deserve the place that they're in. I mean, truth be told, and I still stand by what I said, right? As A&T being the pretty girl with a bad breath. I will never take that away. But again,
like, why?
I mean, that's where I am, right? But again, even that girl can brush her teeth every now and then and, get some Listerine, because A&T is really a program that I know that when the lights are on and they're on a big stage, they really kind of, they go out, they pull all the stops, they really kind of show up, and you can go back into the most recent, what was it, the BOA performance that they just had not too long ago. I thought that performance was executed really well. So I think they really show up for really big stages and big dances. I mean, to be honest, this is really no different to me than that year that they won, the only year that they won Honda Battle of the Bands, right? When there was actually a vote for it, that's a whole nother conversation. But they just show up for the big dance.
Why do they even do that? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I am just thinking about when they did that one year at Honda, when they had the voting system, and it's like, what's the reason? It's supposed to be a showcase. Yeah, just participate.
Well,
what year was
that's
that?
To me, that's a whole different conversation, right? Because that goes back to the whole point of the adjudication process in the first place. I mean, you
2020
can argue. Oh, what you said? What year was that? Yeah. But yeah, you can argue on multiple occasions that we have way too many showcases and we should be having more adjudications. I think that Honda Honda to me was the birth that came out of Drumline with the Big Southern Classic. And that was an adjudicated performance in that particular movie. And so to have something like Honda come on the heels of that and then not be adjudicated for me was weird. So so the fact that they ended up doing that, I thought was pretty dope. But either way, you know, again, I think that they absolutely deserved the first place spot. And honestly, too, I think that it was really close, you know, in the judging, in my personal opinion, because ain't nobody seen no scorecards. But no, I think that it was a really close judging. But I think at the end, I think that they deserve the spot that they got.
Okay, well, Quan, what are your thoughts when it comes to percussion? What did we see from Cold Steel with this award-winning Band of the Year performance?
I mean, Cold Steel was Cold Stealing. I mean, it was doing anything, you know, jumping, flipping, you know, outstanding snare breaks and call outs. This year for this particular show, they used a lot of feel. I believe the distance was from the 30-yard line to the 30-yard line. That's a lot. And I even know, you know, I know we weren't there in person, but I wonder if they had any phasing issues being that far apart, because sometimes that can happen. But overall, from the looks of it, I mean, Cold Steel did what Cold Steel was supposed to do. And I'll leave it at that. Once we get to the next comparison, I'll just leave it.
Okay. Well, you know what? Since you're going to leave it at that, I think there's been a big discussion. We've seen it online. We've seen it in group chats. We've seen it on Facebook. We've seen it everywhere. When it comes to the D1 category for A&T being crowned Band of the Year, a lot of Jackson State fans are complaining about the results. Do you think, I mean, this is fair, this is warranted, it was an actual fair crowning of what school or what band program won, or no? Like, who was a better band here? What are we actually voting upon? We still don't know the scorecards or what's being voted on either. So what was really better, or I'll say the best of each bands that we saw during this showcase and field show? I don't know who wants to start. We could just
I didn't know who that was too, so I was waiting for. But I mean,
I was waiting for somebody to jump in. Jay, you can start.
I can throw it out here like this. I mean, obviously, you're gonna have your fans of whatever school that you went to, right? Like, I mean, it just kind of is what it is. And I think that a lot of Jackson people who went to Jackson are going to be in their fields and be a little salty about the fact that their particular school did not place. And then on top of that, I mean, you may have a lot of Jackson people who've never seen A&T and the style and what A&T marches. So for them, I think that for them, it may just be that because it's not in the similar style, that it just wasn't congruent to what Jackson does and the fact that they feel that they should have won, right? But I mean, I don't think that Jackson did bad. I think actually Jackson did really well. I think they first of all, the little blowing joint that they did at the beginning mixed with the Usher tune Daddy, I thought it was sweet. And one of the reasons why I thought it was great, because as an arranger, that's one of the things that I like to do. I mix songs all the time. I do that. I love doing that, right? So when I heard that, I thought that was super dope. I thought the drill was great. I thought it was clean. I thought the musical concept was great, using Usher for their whole show. And honestly, I think that their slow tune was better than A&T's slow tune. I'm going to say that. But I think that, and this is just coming from just my personal opinion, from top to bottom as a full production and a full show, I really think just A&T just had the better show from a full production. That doesn't take away from the great job that Jackson did. I think Jackson sounded great. I think that their drill was great. But again, I just think that from a full-on field show production, I think that A&T had it. So, but Jackson fans got their reasons to be upset. I mean,
the only thing I have to say is that they would likely be questioning this less if we knew who the judges were and they released the score sheet. That's my only opinion. That's it, and that's all.
Well, I'll say my whole thing is this. So looking at both shows, I think the scores, in my opinion, if I was an adjudicator, would be somewhat skewed because certain elements of what one band had, the others didn't. So I can't rate you off of color guard because the J sets are not color guards. Cool, right? And that's been kind of some of our issues this year. Some bands have been receiving auxiliary scores, but not dancing scores, and vice versa. Um, but I must say this: A&T show had a complete show, but I don't believe that they outmarched Jackson State, and that takes, in my opinion, that you should have took some points off. That's just my opinion. Not saying that the drill that A&T did was bad or anything, because Gary did an outstanding job for the staging. However, the drill and the energy of marching that Jackson State exhibited, they outmarched A&T. However, then on the flip side, A&T had a drum feature. Jackson State didn't. So when you look at those particular elements, how can you really judge it?
Mhm.
So, I mean, I know you're supposed to bring your A game, right? I know you're supposed to bring your A game. So you can't be mad at one that they provided it and then the other ones didn't. It's kind of like court. If you brought your evidence, but then the defendant didn't, that's your fault.
Is
right?
a drum feature a requirement though?
I was just about to
No,
ask
it's
that,
not.
Portia.
Well, we don't
It's
know.
not.
We don't know.
That's what I was about to say. We don't know. We don't know.
But here's a question, Quan. Because I don't disagree with you and what you said. My question would be, did that hinder the execution of the drill though?
What, the drum feature?
Their energy in marching, did that hinder the execution of their drill?
No, it enhanced it, of course, but it hindered North Carolina A&T's, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because there are certain. If you're looking at their show, and I saw their show on the North Carolina A&T YouTube page, right? So, but there are certain aspects. Well, they're just walking.
No, but see, again, I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying, because I don't know if A&T uses the dot or not. But what I'm saying is, did that hinder Squad A to get from one set to the other in the right time? By the time they were supposed to be there on count 16, were they there on count 16?
So from that point of view, no. I mean, I did see that there was one section where the left side, like the left side was there first, and then the right side wasn't. Now, I don't know if that was intentional, because we haven't seen the drill, and we don't have the score sheet, so we didn't see none of that. However, as a person that's looking at the collegiate level of band, even though North Carolina was have a mixology of marching style, because when they're in front, they're picking up their legs, they're like marching 90s, but then there's certain aspects when, of course, they're marching what is that, east to west, I believe, east to west, the bell front, but then when they were hitting their line straight, 8 to 5, they were walking. And so, from my opinion, I'm thinking, well, shouldn't they be doing a roll step? Because sometimes they do, the lift and core style marching backwards. So there's certain nuances if you're going to execute those things. I didn't see some of those marching fundamentals for those style being executed.
That's fair.
So I would have taken that off just overall. But again,
we don't know if that was in the judge's criteria or not.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Because another judge could have been like, well, they executed 2 to 3 different styles of marching, so I'm going to give them, extra points for that. But in all actuality, we could have said, well, Luke could have been like, well, you attempted it, which I'll give you 1 point, but you didn't execute it well, so I'll take a point back. So then it just depends. So that's my point of view. But when you look at Jackson State from top to bottom, they had energy all the way through. And overall sound of Jackson State is impeccable. And I know people clown, and this is just a joke, but I know we clown about audio visual stuff for A&T. Let me say this: on every single video, Showtime Web, all of the other YouTube pages, Jackson State sounds the same. Again, I'm not discrediting A&T. Let's be clear. But what I'm saying is they sound the same on every video.
I mean, and I think that's a valid argument, and I'm not taking that argument away. But here's the problem, right? There's only 2 clips of A&T, and everybody else who recorded everybody else is out there, right? The 2 clips are the one A&T video, and I think it's A1. My problem with that is, I agree. If I listen to A&T's video, it sounds different from A1's video. But even on A1's video, A&T doesn't sound bad. And I think that's, and I'm not saying you're saying they sound bad. Let me clarify that. But I'm just saying for me, it's just kind of, because I agree with what you're saying. Jackson sounds the same the whole way, but A&T doesn't sound bad on either video. So both of them still sound good. So I think it all just kind of still boils down to preference. I think if I prefer to hear Jackson's sound over A&T's sound, or Jackson's versions of arrangements over A&T's arrangements, then I'm probably going to lean towards one of those sides, depending on what I prefer to hear.
So, not to extend it any further, but I have a question for you. Which arrangements were more technical?
Depends on the song. Because I personally appreciated A&T's intro a lot. I just thought that their intro to their drill was really good. The Boogie Night drill, I thought it was cool. It was well executed. It was well arranged, but I preferred Jackson's drill tune more. So if that makes sense, it may not, but I thought that Jackson's blowing joint was dope. I thought it was a dope thing, but from a sound perspective, I preferred A&T's intro. So it just depends, it just depends on what it is, depending on what they're playing.
Well, let's take away preference or take away, the bias of it all. In a perfect world, when it comes down to being crowned Band of the Year, the one thing that's been consistent is the lack of foundation of what these bands and programs are being voted upon. So what is the real concern when it comes down to what we've seen, what we've been following this whole time? Because all of these bands deserve to be here. All of these bands deserve the highlight. They deserve the shine. They deserve being in front of bigger audiences than what they have been, respectfully, in their conferences and all, especially with the backing of ESPN. But what could have been executed better at this point to make sure we are superseding expectations as well as getting that stadium packed? Because based off some of the pictures, it seemed like too many people were there compared to the next day for the actual football game. What are your thoughts, guys?
Well, I'll start by saying from just kind of ending on or starting from where you ended, that goes back to one of the conversations that we had, on the last show. I think that if you would have invited the 2 programs that were a part of the game, the actual Celebration Bowl, it may have made a difference. But when you just only had those 4 programs, then people are only going to be there for those 4 programs. But then, I've also said it. I said it on my other show. Promotion is a big thing, right? You can't have a battle on the same day as the 50th of hip hop in the same city at the same time. That just, to me, wasn't smart. Now, I don't know. Again, I don't know how that was planned. I don't know if the battle was already pre-planned or the concert was pre-planned, but that was just poor planning. Either way. But, and I know, Portia or Quan may want to go in different routes, but what I will say is this. I've seen a lot of conversation online about, because we're HBCUs, we are judged differently and so on and so forth, and our category should be X, Y, and Z. Listen, at the end of the day, there's people try to relate it to HBCU judging versus white judging. That doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't compute to me. You're good, you're bad, right? But even in the categories, you can have the same categories as DCI. You can have your auxiliary or your color guard. You can have your general effect. You can have all of these different things. It's all about transparency. That's really all it's about. Just being open and honest with who's doing the judging, what caption they're judging in. And then as a person who's done DCI before, I want to see the judges. So if I know that there's a judge that's judging battery, I want to see you on the field in front of the battery, at least with at least your cell phone recording, so you can have some notes to give back to that percussion section. So again, it's all about transparency when it comes to the judging aspect of that. So that's where I'm gonna leave that. I don't know where Portia and Quan are gonna go with it, but just being open and honest and transparent about your judges would have helped a lot.
He said it. We don't know anything. We've been guessing this whole time. And so I feel like that's why people didn't show up. There have been Battle of the Bands in cities with other events. But if our people feel like it's legitimate, they'll show up. But because of all the questions, because there's not clear understanding of the process, people weren't supporting that. And this is your inaugural event, and you charge people $75 a head. That's a bit much when you haven't gotten our buy-in. You haven't.
They were charging $75?
Those tickets were $75 each. So you have lack of understanding, lack of transparency, and $75 tickets working against you. I Googled it because I wanted to know. That venue hosts 71,000 people. There were 42,000 people in there for that Celebration Bowl. I would be surprised if there were more than 2,500 at that competition. So that tells you that it's not been sold to the masses. And it's not about my school didn't make it. If they had released those judges sheets, if I had been able to follow along with what your plan was, how you executed this, how we arrived here, I would have still supported it. But that lack of transparency, I mean, when did we find out what the layout would be? The fifth quarter piece to me was added last minute. It wasn't televised. Only the competition was. It wasn't, to me, sold in a way that would have allowed for this to be a sold out or packed event. And I just hope we can do better going forward. And I don't feel like everything that they said they would do or that they said they've done. And so until their actions start matching their words, I think it'll continue to fail.
They were kicked out from the fifth quarter, so that didn't even really count for nothing, because they had to quote unquote hurry up and set up for the Celebration Bowl, which for me was odd. Listen, if you're gonna hold a HBCU event, you have to incorporate everything that embodies HBCUs. Period. The fifth quarter is part of it, whether we like it or not. It's part of it. Yes, the field show should have been an aspect, but you should have had the fifth quarter as part of the performance or the battle as well. So,
and I just want to say, to our point, if your goal was to put a spotlight on HBCU bands and everything that means, it doesn't make any sense that you're already bringing two bands here. They could have been exhibitions. I don't know why Howard and Florida and FAMU weren't in there. Even if they were just exhibitions, if the goal is to put more spotlight on HBCU band programs, they were there for that game the next day. There is no reason that they were not in that stadium. Mm-hmm. If that's the real goal.
If it's a real goal, but we still don't even know, what the foundation was, what this was for, because it continued to change every time. We saw bands that were included for the voting process. Bands were removed. They were added again. Band programs that were never initially listed all of a sudden popped up. Then when it was time for this actual event, it seemed as if now more than one band was crowned Band of the Year, which that's not a problem. It's just the fact of, were we transparent with the fans and the family members and the friends of the family, everyone that supports these programs? Because again, it was never clear with the voting process or how you're including the audience within the voting process to make it feel like this is something for all of us to be involved with. So, Kwam, what are your thoughts when it comes to, I mean, you can say it, the logistics of Band of the Year?
I think everybody has said the correct thing. First of all, I think it would have been better if it would have been promoted by a show like this, like Blow the Whistle. That's number one. Number two, I also feel that if it was a weekly update like we've been doing to keep the people engaged, because to put out rankings once a month, I don't think that was the best approach, because certain bands didn't perform like at a 2-week period. So what are you ranking them on? And they stayed on the list. So when you look at it, I understand, and we all state that band is a sport. So if band is a sport and you're competing weekly, I think it would have been better, honestly, if you would have approached it where certain adjudicators would have went to certain games to observe that band for that particular week, and then rank those bands to say, okay, so this is what we're going to do. These are the HBCUs that we put on Division 1, Division 2. We're going to send 2 adjudicators to make sure that they observe, and then they change the rankings. And then those adjudicators say why. This is why. The number one, section of this week is, whatever, Timbuktu University. And so they did great because they did this. And then you keep them engaged. You keep the music educator engaged. Then you keep the band head engaged. You keep the newfound band person engaged, the high schoolers engaged, so forth and so on. Also, I do believe, even on the band of the year, you could involve high school students as well. So to encapsulate every single person, I do agree with Portia. FAMU could have performed. Howard could have performed, because those bands may not travel to that particular city or can afford to travel to that city. So the aspect of recruitment could have been beneficial to those historical Black colleges and universities. So you have to think about that. Even though we're in the age of technology where you're one YouTube clip away, but to truly experience that HBCU is something completely different. I've observed FAMU all my life, in high school, but until I actually felt FAMU, we're talking about pre-Robert Champion, that is a completely different experience. So I think there's different aspects of execution, but I do want to say this. We do have to give aspects of grace for the first year. And I do believe, I hope and pray that next year they up the ante in regards of the committee. And let's be real. I know we talk about DCI because many of us have had that experience, not to always compare, but if they have a blueprint and it's worked for this long, why not use it?
They're doing something right,
Well,
clearly.
well, the thing is, people are going to consider that a white thing instead of, doing what you said and just using it as a blueprint. I mean, you can go so far as to what we do in adjudication for high school, right? Like whether we're doing our UIL or whether we're going to some random battle of the bands, you always get feedback, and in DCI, you get feedback. You go to recap and you get feedback. You get an audio recording of your group. And again, you just didn't get that. Portia said it on multiple occasions. She didn't get that. So that, I think, again, and I agree with you absolutely, Quan, follow the blueprint. But I think people are trying to be so different that they just didn't want to take that option, which I think, shoots us in the foot.
Because I'll say this and I'll be done. There's programs like USA Bands that already have it.
Well, with it all being said and done, hopefully next year we will be covering this event. That way we can keep you up to date of what is coming up next. Bands you need to be on the lookout for, the underdogs and the underdog programs that rise to the top, and of course, what is going on as we close out 2023 going into 2024. I encourage you to continue to blow the whistle. Matter of fact, blow the whistle with us. Make sure to follow the hashtag BTW Crew and to follow us for more details. And of course, lastly, where can everyone find all of you guys at? How about that? Portia, start with you.
I don't have anything but Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, I don't do all that other stuff, but on Instagram, I'm at LVDN Hated. We'll have to post that because it's a little different. But yeah, loved and hated. You either love my personality or you hate it.
Quan, where can everyone find you at?
You can find me on the gram at SquareUp15. Simple.
There we go. And Jane, where can everyone find and follow you at?
I'm going to make this super easy. You can find every single person on here at the Passion Is Network. Just go to Instagram and type in Passion Is Network, and we will be right there for you. Boom.
And perfect. You can always find me at Ashmack Gets It. And of course, until we get to our next episode, you know, like I know, that halftime is game time. Enjoy, and thank you for blowing the whistle with us.
Happy holidays.
Happy New Year! Oh my gosh!